Mental health. Mental health wasn't a term that was used often when I was a young man growing up in the 90s, but it's become a lot more common, and I think it's a great thing. My guest this week is one of the bravest, most interesting gentlemen that I've ever met, honestly. My guest this week has bipolar disorder, and he decided to come on my platform and just kind of take you along his journey. I'm not going to talk too much here, but at the end of this episode, or more than likely another episode, I have an audio recording that my guest actually did while he was having one of his biggest breakdowns. He had the wherewithal to record himself, and I want to let you guys know it could be a little triggering to some people, but I want to give a shout out to my guests. Thank you, and everybody. I hope anybody that has somebody that has a mental disorder or deals with anxiety or depression or schizophrenia, and the list goes down, there's a lot of help out there for you, and I really hope you guys find that help. So check it out, UG. Let's go. One, two, three. What's good, everybody? It is your man, Iron Imp, a.k.a. Flo Rogan, now also known as Scarlet Bro Handsome, and I'm here with a special guest, super special guest, second time in the black and red room, but the first time you're going to hear from him, my man, Dante Blackman. Welcome back, man. I'm going to let you do the talking. But before you do, I want to give a shout out to Omni Backpacks. You can charge your phone up. You can charge all your devices up. Let me put it down because that's not good camera work, but you can charge all your devices. It comes with a port that you can charge a portable battery to that connects to your devices on the outside, so you can always be connected, always charge your phone. I'll send a link at the bottom. You can get 20% off mathematically. I don't know what that means. I don't do math, but 20% off any purchase. So, Omni Backpack. Word. So, yo, thank you, brother. So, Dante, floor is yours. Why are you here?
Well, why you got me here?
Because you got a story to tell. And the fact that you have a story to tell, and the story that you are going to tell, requires such a level of bravery and, I guess, self-awareness.
Very much so, definitely.
That, I mean, damn, why not have you on? So, stage is yours, brother. I'm going to sit back and just watch.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Well, okay, let's start. My birth name is Wendell, Wendell Blackman, and I'm about to tell you the story of why I like to go by the name Dante, due to the fact that it starts like this. In 2001, I was actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. The onset of it. I'm going to paint the picture the best I can for my friend Eric that I've known since Stony Brook College, and for the audience here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I was 19. I was a sophomore in the first university school I was going to. That was William Patterson University in Wayne, New Jersey, and I was loving it. And when I say I was loving it, I had the opportunity to be there like a month. Almost 2 months prior before school opened, because I had the opportunity to be a freshman orientator.
Cool.
As a sophomore, right?
Okay.
So, I was getting paid from doing that. I was, meeting freshmen and showing them around the school. And the reason why I have a smile on my face,
yeah, because that looks a little corrupt.
No, the reason why I have a smile on my face is because I was, able to meet a lot of freshmen, quote unquote, fresh meat.
Sure. The fresh meat.
No, but listen, I was 19.
It's all right.
At the same time, I was majoring in communications.
Okay.
I found it to be a profound major at the time.
All right.
I was learning how to do public speaking and just different write speeches and everything like that. I'm painting the story like that because, not only was I a freshman orientator, but I started to realize that I was becoming a lot more, my attitude and I started to feel as though I was coming out of a certain shell that I never knew I was in before in the first place.
Do you mean kind of like how we sort of recreate ourselves out of high school?
Yes.
Sort of? Okay.
Yeah. And
I didn't get that till after college.
yeah,
Jeez, I
like it
was
was, but it was a different, like a quote unquote weird feeling that I'd never felt before. It was ongoing, and the best way I describe it is that I started to feel extremely creative.
okay.
Create in a creative way in ways that I'd never even experienced before. This was no, I wasn't taking any drugs.
Right.
I wasn't like a drinker or anything. I just was just having a lot of ideas that I was able to focus on and work with. I was very, I felt extremely brave with a lot of not with just the way I spoke with people, but especially women.
The fresh meat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So wait, I'm sorry. Before you even go on to that, this wasn't you in high school.
No, not this kind of confidence.
Okay.
Not this sheer will and confidence. And another thing that I was noticing is that I didn't require much sleep. I felt as though there were many nights where I felt I had like maybe 3, maybe max 4 hours sleep, and I woke up feeling fine, and like I could just keep going. And I did find it odd, but I was like, okay,
You was just running off. That's crazy.
I was doing well with school. The first job was a freshman orientator. I was doing that for the first 2 months before school started.
Yeah.
And then I got a job behind the student. What do you call that? The main build, the student center building. Mm-hmm. And I also got a job. I worked like 2.5 jobs in a matter of because I got to the school in the beginning of July.
Yeah.
And I was working 2.5 jobs, doing all that and being really creative for my school. I was doing really well with schoolwork.
So you was a superstar on 2 hours of sleep,
Like
3 hours of sleep.
max 4 hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
On a good night 5, but usually the average was like 4 hours sleep. And I knew there was something off with it, but I just kept on going. I was like, I thought it was something that I was just that kind of God blessed me with like this creativity, and
Right.
I was even. And there were even times, I remember this was one distinct time because even though I wanted to play football in the past, I didn't have the opportunity to do so because I had a back issue. That's also important to the story as well. I had back surgery at 17 when I was a junior in high school.
Yikes.
I used to have scoliosis.
Okay.
My spine was like a curve like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they strained it out with some kind of titanium rod.
Mm-hmm.
And the surgery was a huge
That
success.
sounds incredibly painful though.
Well, they put me under to sleep and everything.
All right,
I
so
was
you was
good.
chilling. All
Yeah,
right.
I was good, and I recovered fairly well too, really quick. But that's important to the story as well with the whole back thing. I want to say long story short, but as I keep going, like those even times, the reason why I mentioned the whole football thing, because I remember this one time distinctly. There's this one guy. I think he might have been like either junior or a senior, and he was bigger than me, but he just had like this audacity that I didn't like, and
Just that asshole.
he was kind of
confidence.
like asshole confidence. It was a real asshole confidence.
College thug.
Yeah, and it was.
Campus
I remember this one time that I was working behind by what's it called, the front desk in my building that I was working that I lived in.
Yeah.
The building I was living in was called the North Tower.
Okay.
It's called the North Tower because it was one of the highest buildings, and I also lived on the highest floor. So you could I was able to see a view, a really great view of New York, which
that's pretty dope.
Yeah, which comes into play later on, especially when I talk about 9/11.
I'm sure it comes into play when you were, orientated in freshman.
Oh
so
yes,
that's romantic.
Very much so. Yes, look, when I was 19, I had my first threesome and everything like that.
I am 41 and have never had one and probably won't. So good for you. Cheers, cheers, bro.
It is what it is. I'm 41 now. So
savage, you're savage.
Yeah, yes, I can be.
Parents of William Patterson University around that time, your daughters was looking over New York City with the Blackman.
I was becoming a savage around that time, and the savageness was even like being portrayed towards this one guy at one point because he was
this guy.
This is one chick that I guess we were both like competing over, but like he said some real smart slick shit when I was working behind the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Because the chick she was just like having a conversation with me, and it was going nice and everything. He said some slick shit, and me, after this happened after 9/11, and I had to backtrack and tell you about what happened with 9/11 a little later. Emotions were pretty like high after that happened,
right?
And I'll get into that in a second. But but I mentioned that because at one point he was saying some shit. I can't remember what it was, but it ticked me off so much that I grabbed my nearest textbook and I threw it at him. And I'm never gonna forget because I always said to myself, if I was a quarterback, I probably would have hit him dead in the head because I just lunged it at him.
So you threw it like Zach Wilson. And
it
went
went like right across. No, it did. No, it went close. It went close. It went like right across his shoulder. Yeah. So like he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, you tell me what the fuck? Because he just gotta. I was like, yo, your fucking attitude is like getting on my fucking nerves. You know, you just, I don't know what it is with you. You think I'm like, because just because I'm small, then you think I'm like afraid of you?
You know, he's
like I stepped to him.
too.
I stepped to him like in a way I never stepped to anybody bigger than me before. Like I didn't give a shit.
My guy.
Yeah, and I was even a little surprised that I did it.
Yeah.
You know, but I just,
as was he.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that I did it. But long story short, like I guess after that moment we didn't fight, no swings, but we kind of had like a certain underlying respect for each other after that.
Well, he knew he couldn't punk you, and you know why? Because for some of the younger people, I don't know what schools have now, but our textbooks used to be the size of this damn roadcaster right here.
Yeah.
Like, it probably didn't help with your scoliosis, them damn books. Real talk.
Real talk.
So yeah, continue, bro.
Yeah, so real talk. But like, long story short, with that, I mean, I did end up getting the chick like the day after, the night after. So I felt good about that.
So you got top on the top floor.
I felt really good about that.
Good for you.
Yeah, but
you probably turned on, bro.
It did.
Oh, you savage!
I wasn't even trying to. I would just get so annoyed with this, like his fuckery.
She probably didn't like him either.
Yeah, so it's just I was just a more like just down the level, dude. But I still had a confidence, but it wasn't like an overbearing.
Yeah.
Confidence.
Moral of the story: young men throw a book at a dude.
Hey, he did that. That motherfucker. Excuse me. That nigga was. I said it again.
How do you do that?
I tried to correct myself.
I didn't even get to like use my little button on.
Yeah, my apologies.
That's all right. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, that one I might actually take out.
So let me just like focus on the serious part real quick.
The ninja.
So the reason why I mentioned 9/11 and give you guys backstory of the building I was in called the North Tower, one of the highest buildings on the campus. I remember that day. I'm never going to forget that day. Tuesday, 9/11, 2001. Started as a fairly normal day, and then there's people like saying, yo, watch the news. It's like something happened at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
So everyone's like watching the news, not going to class. And I remember there was one girl, she was like, look, it's burning. Like the smoke.
She was pointing in real time, not even on TV.
Yeah. It's just, and then like a lot of people were just like by the window. Everyone was just kind of panicking because I didn't have a cell phone. I had a pager at that time. And people were just trying to.
You're old, bro.
Yeah.
Those had a pager.
Yeah. And I was, like I said, I was in the Jersey skyline. I was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And was watching what's going on in New York. And it was a panic fest.
Of course
it was a panic fest. But it got worse when I distinctly remember just like talking to someone when I was away from the window, and all of a sudden I hear that same girl who's by the window yell like this really heart-wrenching scream, and she like dropped down to her knees. And that's when, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And that's when the things started to crumble down.
So you saw that?
Yeah, everyone ran to I saw it plain as day, just to crumble down.
When you really think about that, there was people in there, and I don't want to make this episode too morbid, but that shit is. My 9/11 experience wasn't like that. For the most part, I grew up in the Bronx, so I don't have no view of downtown. And I'm going to school. I'm going to Lehman, regular morning. I got on America Online, dial up 56K. They give you the little news on the bottom, and it showed the first tower on fire. So my my mother was asleep. My neighbor comes in and is like, yo, they got us again. It's like, all right, whatever. And I'm walking to school, bro. I'm seeing all the jets flying towards downtown, the military helicopters. But all I know is that Fabulous and Jay-Z CD come out that day. I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to get the CD. I didn't think nothing. This is everything's coming on your phone, internet-wise. I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't experience that. That shit must have been bonkers, bro.
Yeah, it was very traumatic. And
I can tell by your face, man.
Yeah, and for me personally, my solace that day was I was blessed to have my own vehicle at the time.
Right.
And that's when the Wiz was still open and popping.
That's where I got the CDs at.
And I went with the mission. I was like, listen, I need to get away from this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I contacted whoever I knew around the area. None of my family or friends that I knew of at the time were either got hurt or anything like that. But there's so many other people. Right. There's so many people who were like grieving or mourning, and just seeing that, I was like, I need to get away from it. So I drove down to the Wiz. I'm like, yo, I'm about to buy this this Blueprint album. The Jay-Z Blueprint, man. I went with the intention of that. And then
Me too.
I remember that was also the day that Fabulous's first album, Ghetto Fabulous, came out. And I was like, am I going to get both of them?
I got them both. Had to get them both.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But I was like, yeah, I'm just going with Jay-Z.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I got them both. I'm not even a big fan of either, but I had to.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why that album means so much to me. Because I mean, it is one of my favorite Jay-Z albums, period. But that album means so much to me for the time
album.
that it came out.
Yeah,
the therapy that it gave.
For
sure.
Yeah,
just the music, those 13 with the 2+ bonus tracks. Like just that album is.
This guy got in depth.
Yeah, that album is something that's like a piece. It has a piece of my heart.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But, yes. But you know, moving on from 9/11. Long story short, with that, approximately around like 35 to 40 days later, within that time span, that high energy that I had, and also I was also like the life of the party, like just throughout that time frame, you know, even though I was still dealing with those high emotions, but still like between that from 9/11 till I would say like late October, like slowly but surely that energy started to like come down, and die out a bit. And when I say come down and die out a bit, it was like not even almost. It slowly started to turn into a complete 180 of like my mood.
Right.
My mood was high energy, vibrant, you know, charismatic. That's how it started. But then it started to like slowly turn around within that time, those days, into the complete opposite. Just shy. Not even just. It was kind of worse than shy. I was withdrawn.
So you didn't even interact anymore, or if you did, it took a lot.
It took a lot of energy. It took a lot out of me, and there was even days where I wouldn't say afraid, but there was something like kind of worse than afraid. It was like almost like damn near petrified to leave my dorm room sometimes.
Wow.
And it wasn't like
and this has never happened to you before.
No, that's what I'm saying. But but again, that's why I'm painting the story of like how I was feeling before that.
Yeah.
And mind you, the way I was feeling before that lasted months.
Wow.
That lasted months, and that's why it's also imperative that I mentioned how I saw it. 9/11 happened.
Sure.
The catastrophe of everyone. The emotion is running high. Men and female, everyone. Just and long story short, I remember it's like either mid to late October. It got to a point where I called my brother because it was a Friday, and I just felt as though I just didn't want to leave the room. And it got to a point where I was like, what's wrong with me? I didn't want to even like, I called my brother. I was like, Kendall, I don't know what's wrong. My brother's name is Kendall.
Sure.
I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I was breaking down. I was like, I was doing so well with school, everything, just high energy. And all of a sudden it's the complete opposite. I don't know what is wrong with me. I was breaking down. And he had to even coach me to get into the shower.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
Coach me to get into the shower and walk myself to the university hospital, and I did that, and even that walk, it was like a 10-15 minute walk. That walk I felt as though it was like a walk of shame.
So you felt like everybody knew. Is that one of those like you felt like everybody knew you was having a breakdown? You said walk of shame.
I felt as though everybody knew, but they
of
really
course not.
didn't.
Right.
I was hiding it. From what I remember, I was hiding it fairly well.
Yeah.
But at some point it became obvious, because if I was like the kind of guy who was like a life of the party or just a high, and then it just kind of switches up. It's
the complete opposite of the
complete
guy.
opposite.
Sure.
Yeah, and I didn't understand it. You know,
that's scary in itself.
It was very scary. I'm never gonna forget that walk. It was a Friday morning, and it was like a 10 to 15 minute walk to the. I even had to ask like one or two people where it was, because I wasn't familiar with where the hospital was.
Yeah, why would you be?
Yeah, and so I got myself there, and I was expressing to the doctor about how I was feeling and how I felt before, and they're like, "Yeah, we need your closest family members to get here, because from what you're telling me and how you remember how you're feeling before to now, this sounds like the onset of a possible mood disorder."
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you heard that, were you able to process that at the time?
Not really.
Right. So it was he was just talking. He was just moving lips.
Yeah, it was like kind of. I was like, "What does that mean?" He didn't say what. I didn't. Yeah. So my mom at the time, my brother came, and the doctor expressed how they saw how I was feeling, expressed it, and he told him he was like, based on what your son is saying, it sounds like this is the onset of bipolar disorder.
The onset of bipolar. So, okay, onset. So I don't know much about bipolar disorder. So is this something that, part of my ignorance, you're born with, and it just the 9/11 was kind of like what triggered the sleeper cell, so to speak?
That was part of the. That was part of, how should I say it? That was a catalyst. That was most likely a catalyst to trigger some of the signs of the come down of the quote unquote mania.
So the opposite of the mania is the down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because that's why I said I was feeling like the high energy, creativity, writing
Right.
papers,
So really the onset was months before. What you said, 30 to 45 days before that was kind of like the onset, right? Got the timeline right? Or whenever you started school. Well, I guess it would be 2 months before.
For me, if I was being honest with myself, like at some point, I guess the onset was sometime in July.
Okay.
But that was like the good part of it.
Sure.
So I was just running with it.
Yeah. The manic side.
Yeah, but I didn't know what it was. That's what I'm saying. Like it was foreign to me. The way that I was feeling and processing everything.
Yeah.
And needing and lack of sleep. It was foreign to me.
Yeah.
But I was embracing it for what it was.
That seems like a hell of a time. It sounds like you're just on cocaine all day.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Without any use of drugs. No, I wasn't smoking weed or nothing like
Right.
that. And it was extremely frightening.
So when they told you bipolar, that's just what they told you.
That's what they, yeah.
How was your family's reaction? Do you remember?
I don't remember at the time, no, because I was I remember just being so withdrawn, and I had to. It was so bad at the time. The depression was considered a severe depression, and that's why I had to be pulled out of school at the time, and that even broke me as well because of how well I was doing.
Right.
And it was really sudden. Really sudden. I didn't really get to tell many, or not really many, or any really at all, of like the people who I form relationships with, friends.
So you just kind of, where was Wendell one day?
Pretty much, Wendell just disappeared.
Well, I don't know if you remember me telling you this, but when Wendell and I went to Stony Brook University way back in the day when Chingy was a thing, and and there was a time, we all hung out in the same group, and for, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks, you just disappeared out of nowhere, right? I don't know if it was that long, but it was, let's just say 2 or 3 weeks for this. This is when I still lived on the 3rd floor, so this must have been early on. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, yo, where was Wendell, blah, 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 blah. And you came back, like out of nowhere. Like you just showed up in the fucking hallway one day. And somebody asked, yo, where you been? And you didn't answer. And I was like, yo, maybe he has some type of break. Now, I didn't know of any condition that you had or anything, but in my mind, I'm like, maybe something happened where he just had to leave for a while. Do you remember that time? Was I right?
It wasn't like I didn't have any kind of quote unquote psychotic break then. I probably was going through some type of maybe some type of mild to moderate depression.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't recall fully.
Right.
But I do remember being out for maybe a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, maybe something happened, and I never asked. That's not my business.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I know it was obviously going through something. It was either something, quote unquote, mental or emotional, or possibly something with family, but it was probably mostly something that I was dealing with myself.
Right.
But it wasn't anywhere near as severe or profound as what happened in 2001 and what I will eventually talk about what happened in 2019. So
okay,
because that's the complete opposite.
Yeah. All right. So you got the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. What was the treatment, or what did they suggest? Do you remember what that was?
Also I'll mention this. When I was pulled out of school, I was also brought to a Syosset hospital. And I was there for about a week or so. I remember having to sleep and just staying in a bed and just sleeping in a bed and just feeling like I just wanted to sleep most of the day.
Total opposite of college when you started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Complete opposite. Yeah. This is in 2001. Yeah. Yeah. And, again, this is not when I was this is when I was already pulled out of school.
Right.
At William Patterson University.
Sure.
This is obviously way before I met you, and
Yeah.
and the treatment was, they had me seeing a therapist at the time. At that time, a psychiatrist. I say at that time because I don't see a psychiatrist anymore. I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, it was mostly therapy and the psychiatrist. They're titrating what kind of meds for me that would be best. They at that time they were trying. They had me on like things like lithium and a very high dose of Depakote, which is a mood stabilizer. Lithium is considered. I forget what kind of drug it's considered, but at the same time, the reason why I did my personal research and I was on it for like maybe 3 months, and when I realized that it could have like issues with your kidneys and stuff like that, and I also knew about certain history with possible kidney issues with family, I was like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable.
You don't want that, man.
Yeah, nah. So
that shit my mom went through.
Yeah, exactly. So so I was on a high dose of Depakote and something else. I can't recall what else, but the main thing I was on at that time was Depakote. I just remember of the high dose it was. It was a very high dose of like 2,500, maybe 3,000 milligrams.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So you were basically stabilized by the medication, not by your own control, for lack of a better word.
At that time, it was mostly from the medication. Yeah.
So you were then getting a combination of therapy and medication. But so here's my question, and part of my ignorance again, is as I always say,
I'm here to.
What is the combination for? Like, if you can't control how you are feeling, what's the point of the therapy? Because it's like, again, I'm ignorant to it, but for me, I place it on how I feel when I have like a panic attack. If I'm like, I'm claustrophobic, people be like, calm down, breathe. That shit's not working, bro.
Yeah, when you're deep in it, when you're deep in that rabbit hole, it's hard.
It's not working.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people too, you're shallow, sometimes narrow-minded to really understand that if you're that deep in it, it's
over.
It's
over. None of that shit is working. So my question to you is, do you think that was a successful intervention in combining the therapy with the medication?
At that time, and I was feeling more benefits on I think I was feeling more benefits from the medication from what I remember.
Right.
Because to be honest, I don't recall like for the most part of therapy sessions, they would just maybe they ask me how I'm feeling, how I'm processing this, that, and the third, and
right.
but the therapy that I have more recently within the past couple of years has been more effective because as an adult, there's real issues that I talked about and really want to reflect on, and
right.
And so back then it was more so the medication that probably helped.
Right.
That did help. And and moving forward, now I guess I'll start talking about like the Stony Brook years.
Sure. Let's do it.
Which was only, to be honest, Stony Brook years was only like I think like 2 years because truth be told, I flunked out of Stony Brook.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, I did the second year.
We all fucked up though.
Yeah, we
all fucked up.
The weed use at that time was I wouldn't say it was only because of the weed use, but the weed use had a lot to do with it.
Bro, I went from a 3.4 to a 1.7 in one semester.
Yeah,
in one semester.
My second year, my just plummeted because I was just I wasn't taking.
No, it was fun, man.
Yeah, we was having too much fun.
We was all on the same floor.
Yeah,
having good, innocent fun. I wasn't even a whore at that time. Like I was just first time smoking bud.
Yeah.
My first day in college, I got drunk. First night in college, I got drunk. So, yeah.
Yeah, we were just having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
And Greeley,
yo, G Train, what up? Calling us the projects. Our shit was the best building in there, man.
Yeah, we had
fuck H Card.
we had the little gym downstairs. We used to.
Oh yeah, we did. I worked in there.
We used to the big TV in that lounge downstairs. We used to bring I used to bring the PlayStation down there. Play some Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah, we used to play Halo down there.
Yeah, play Halo.
Watch Chappelle Show.
Play Gestures.
Gestures. I don't remember that shit.
Yeah, we had like a big group. We did it like once or twice. It was especially one time.
I was there.
It was like I think you were. You, Vanessa, Sean. Yeah. There was like at least 10 of us playing Gestures.
I mean, if it was that group, I'm sure I was there.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
It's okay. It's like charades.
All right.
The sexual
All
rates,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
But yeah, the storybook here's what it's when I think about it, it was pretty quick because it was 2 years, and the second year I flunked out, and that was a huge learning lesson for me.
Okay.
And from that point on, I went to community college for a while. I got an associates. Got an associates. Excuse me. Got an associates in psychology. And
Isn't that ironic?
I know, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's so ironic for real.
Yeah. I got one too. I got a bachelor's. That shit did nothing for me.
Shit.
Financially, nothing.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes.
I'm just in debt.
Yeah.
I still ain't paid that
I
shit.
got some shit I gotta take care of myself too.
Yeah,
But I mean, I could fast forward to 2019, but if you have some questions.
No, I want to go in
first.
between those times because that's 18 years of life dealing with this, you
Yeah.
know. So when do you think you were able to maybe, I don't say get control of it. You know, let me not even ask that. In between that time, were there times where you felt in total control of what was going on? Were you still taking like heavy medication at that time, or did you find a way to kind of control it yourself without the meds?
I wouldn't throughout. All right, 2001 to 2019, those 18 years. I would say, just honestly, if I had to be honest, the answer is no. I didn't have that. I felt as though I didn't have much control
Right.
over a lot of things.
What, like in terms of, like how did it affect? Because at that time we're generally adults. Really, I mean, we've been adults since 18, but like we're really in our like years of really learning, you know, how to be an adult, and we're kind of turning into the person that we are going to be, right? So during that time, like, what was the biggest hurdle for you, given that you had this disorder?
For one, sometimes it'll be at times it'll be my focus. At times, I wouldn't say consistently throughout the whole 18 years, but my focus was a factor that played with my mind sometimes.
Sure.
There was a time when I remember trying Ritalin. I was on that for like maybe like a month, 2 months, and it helped my focus, but it also had me kind of made me agitated.
Really?
Yeah,
Isn't
had me
Ritalin supposed to
very
like
focused,
zombie
but
you out?
no, it didn't make me feel like a zombie. I was like hyper focused, but also easily agitated. Like I was not the one to be fucked with.
So dude that you threw the book at definitely shouldn't have come around.
Yeah. No, I probably would have ripped his head off.
Yeah.
And loved doing it at the same time.
I mean, I feel uncomfortable the way you looked at me, how you said that.
I mean, I'm just keeping it a buck. I mean, listen, when you have that diagnosis, I've never. Oh, this is when I get real with the dark thoughts, because I've definitely had dark thoughts, and the thing is whether those dark thoughts were inwards towards myself,
Sure,
or if those dark thoughts were where I felt as though I wouldn't hesitate to project those dark thoughts towards someone else.
wow.
Yeah, so I remember distinct times where it might have been inwards,
Right.
or depending on the person, where I might be willing to project that onto you.
That's tough.
That darkness.
And then that person don't even know what the fuck is going on. Like, wait a minute, why are you reacting like this to me, man?
But at the same time, it was. There were times where I felt like it was justified. Let's say shit. I'm getting real with this. I'll give you an example. I would say around the year 2011, I was on a medication. I was on a medication which I'm so glad I'm not on anymore. It's called Wellbutrin.
I've heard of that.
It's a type of antidepressant, but it's different from the average antidepressant. Trust me, I've done my homework, because like I could attest that I'm even on an antidepressant now that I'm taking on that I did my own personal research and did by choice, and that's why I'm able to openly speak about this, because a lot of people can learn from me.
That's the point,
especially in the Black community, men and women. That's why I could speak on this. But anyway, back to the Wellbutrin thing. First time I took Wellbutrin, it was It was the year before I was taking Zoloft, and that Zoloft is considered a SSRI.
Yep.
The Wellbutrin it's either SSNI or SS something. I think it might be SSNI, but it's not a SSRI
Okay.
because it goes after certain receptors in your brain, completely different than how a normal SSRI. Well, I want to say normal.
That's hard to say 3 times.
I know, right?
Selective serotonin reuptake
Reuptake
inhibitor. And then what's the other one?
The other one's Wellbutrin, and that's SSNI, I believe.
SSNI.
Might
Right.
be, I might be wrong, but it's a different.
No, that brought up Silver Springs Networks Incorporated.
I'm curious. I want to look.
No, but it does say, no, wait, sorry, because right under it says, which drugs are SNRIs? So you got Pristique, Cymbalta. I feel like I've seen the commercial for that.
Mm-hmm. You have.
Fetzima. I feel like I know a girl named Fetzima. Effexor. Effexor sounds like the machine that you do the the chest press on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really give me. What does SNRI do to the brain? SNRIs work by increasing serotonin and norepinephrine levels in your brain. Serotonin and norepinephrine are neurotransmitters, chemical messengers. Both neurotransmitters play important roles in regulating your mood, sleep, wake cycle, and memory. Serotonin affects your appetite, social behavior, and sexual desire.
Yeah. So with the Wellbutrin, it's that. Let me do a timeline real quick. In 2010, I was taking the SSRI named Zoloft, and I was taking that shortly after I got out of a pretty toxic relationship with a woman who I wish her the best, but if I was in a better state of mind, I wouldn't have been with her because that woman had kids not by me.
Yeah,
she had children by 2 baby fathers.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I was with her for 3 years. This is like she was 7 years older than me. It took some time to leave her, but I did, and I did have feelings for her. But long story short, after that relationship in 2010, I started taking Zoloft because I was dealing with some kind of some kind of depression, and it did help.
Right.
It did help. However, the two things that even though it took away the depression, the two things that I noticed that was a problem was one. I was able to still have sex and perform. Mm-hmm. However, it was extremely, and I mean extremely difficult to climax.
I mean, some dudes would love that problem.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm never gonna forget. Like in 2010, that's the movie. That's the year when the movie Kick-Ass came out. And
wow, that was that long ago.
Yeah, there was this chick that I was messing with at the time. We saw the movie. And then, we were kicking it in the car and everything. And Shorty starts giving me head in the car.
Good for you.
Yeah, she starts giving me head and everything. And like, it's, I was feeling really good and everything. I'm like, yo, hey.
I love head in the car.
Is what it is. You know what I mean? But anyway, she's doing her thing for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm like, yo, I'm just saying to myself, like, I should have got there by now. Like the way she's doing it. Like,
yeah, I start to if a girl's giving me head for too long, I start to feel self-conscious.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, something's off. I'm like, she's like, you enjoy it? I'm like, yeah, it's just that.
I started thinking, is she losing confidence?
Yeah.
Like,
she had her confidence. This woman's going for like a good half hour, and like it was bothering me. That it felt good, but it wasn't feeling good in a way where I felt like I was going to climax.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, it's
got to end at some point. Though.
Yeah, so I told her, I was like, yeah, it's I don't know what's up. And I was up and everything. I was like, yeah, we got to stop because it's not happening.
You ruined that woman's confidence for the rest of her life. I promise you.
We made it up in the future later on. Like,
I hope so.
Yeah.
So you nutted in like 3 seconds as opposed so bipolar nuts too.
Yeah, it was crazy. But like, there was even times when. I mean, again, this is 2010. There was even times when I tried watching porn while I was on it, and I still could not fucking nut. I was
watch porn while you were getting head?
No.
Oh.
Because I was testing. I was like, all right. I was just.
I see.
I was testing. I was like doing my thing, and I couldn't get this.
That's wild because you know what you like.
It's like a mental block.
Yeah.
You know. So that was an issue, but what broke the thing that broke what's the term, breaking the straw that broke the camel's back?
Yeah.
That was the same year that my grandmother passed on my mother's side. And when, around the time of the wake, I distinctly remember my cousin who lived with my grandmother, like just being really upset and crying and everything. And I wanted to cry, but I couldn't.
So the emotions was shut
It's
off.
just like my emotions was just shut off. And
Wow.
even during the funeral when she's being buried down, it's like I wasn't able to process it, and it bothered the hell out of me.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. Just medications are, bro. I mean, the side effects are just incredible.
So, yeah, like those. But the reason why I say that is because right now I'm on Lexapro, a very low dose of
At the
Lexapro.
moment now.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
and I'm able to communicate effectively.
Sure. Honestly, you
listen-
sound a lot better than the first time we did this. I don't know what you were taking at the time, but the first time you were a little, I'm not going to say incoherent,
That's fine. You can tell me.
but no, I don't think that's the word. I would tell you, I don't think that's
Yeah.
the word, but you didn't seem like you were here the entire time. Like you would
All over the place,
Stevie
probably.
Wonder around all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've been told that before. You
Yeah.
know? So I appreciate you as my friend telling me that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. I told you at the time too, but you wasn't remembering.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, probably lack of rest too and everything.
Oh, yeah, we did that late.
Yeah,
We did that late.
and that's why I was telling you I want to be just focused. I
Sure.
don't want to rush, and I appreciate you. Not even good.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I appreciate
every now and then you dip off, but
Yeah,
I'll fix it. That's fine.
It's cool. I appreciate that. You just gave me time and no rush. That's
Nah, this
a
is
thing.
big, man, because I have a lot of questions that I have, and I'm not trying to make this a 7-hour series, but we could, So my question to you, and you can do this. Wait, is there anything else you want to say about this lady at that time? I don't want to skip on to the next
the
thing.
lady.
That you said you were dating a toxic woman. at a
Oh,
certain time.
no! I'm talking about the fact that the drug had on me. I don't.
Okay, I got
and
you.
also if I'm like jumping all over places, get me
cool.
refocused. Sometimes I know I can
Yeah, I
do that
got you.
sometimes. So
I do it too, man. Trust me. We'll be talking about Nintendo games.
yeah,
from
I appreciate that.
1994.
I appreciate that.
So-
I just want to just pinpoint the effects of that medicine because I even have a friend who's I'm not going to say his name, but he's dealing with certain depression, and he even tells me how he hates taking Zoloft. I'm like, yeah, man. Like I encourage him to do certain things, like even cold shower therapy is something that could help with.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I learned that in 2017, the cold shower therapy, and
That doesn't increase your anxiety at that moment or something? Because I know it wakes you up in the morning. I've done cold showers in the morning.
yeah, it works as just to wake you, not only to wake
stimulant.
you up, it's a stimulant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But long story short, that SSRI Zoloft just numbed me out in a way where that's when I transitioned to Wellbutrin, and that took away. How should I say? It did take away some depression in a different way, but it also I realized that it kind of increased my anxiety a bit. That's one thing I noticed, and also I was dealing with a battle of insomnia with that.
That's rough.
Yeah, so
That I've been there. So that makes the anxiety even worse.
yeah, so that was on for that for a while, but I also was taking it. But one thing I felt good about was the fact that I had my sex drive back.
So the Wellbutrin let you
Yeah, I was able to
whack some ass.
Yeah, I was able to whack and climax and
You said whack. I said wax. That's
Yeah,
two different
whack.
words, brother. It's two different words, brother, but I understand.
I was able to climax.
That's
But
did you throw up like a victorious like
hell
when
yeah,
that first nut came out?
hell yeah. Where is one? Because I was like, yo, fuck that Zoloft shit. Like,
Yeah, that's wild. Like I said, the side effects that the medications have is like you need the medications for the medication. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
luckily, I don't take anything, but life can change at any time, and that shit scares me. When I see, I try to do voiceover work, and when I see the list of the medications and the side effects, bro, that's the whole damn fucking script. you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So during that time, like with your relationships, romantically and friend wise, and even in terms of employee, how did that affect? Did you tell certain people? Did you tell every girl that you dated, this is what I'm dealing with, or like how did that process go?
Yeah, I would tell women that if I was going to be dealing with them on a serious level, that
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, and I'm diagnosed with bipolar, and I was being real, letting them know what I take and how I know that it affects me,
Right.
and I could also admit that with certain relationships that I might have been.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys hear all of these sirens in the background, but I do live in the Bronx, and this is wild today. I don't know what's going on today, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is like the 5th one I've heard in the last couple of minutes. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I'm sorry, young man. it's pretty loud.
It's
So
all good.
please continue. I'm so sorry
good.
about that.
Where was I? Where was I?
I was asking you about relationships, and did you tell people? And you said, if this was a woman that you really thought maybe you could date, you would tell them, and that's kind of where you left off.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you have that conversation?
Being that I've been single for a while, not mostly by choice. It's been a while. That's why I'm trying to think about certain relationships.
Or not
Just
even
be
now,
honest.
just in general.
I didn't really have that much shame about it. Like in the
Sure.
but in the beginning, I didn't have that much shame about it. But the reason why I say in the beginning is because with certain relationships, there might have been certain ones in particular who might have used that vulnerability against me.
What? How do you? That just gave me a few questions, but like, in terms of what, or in what way, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, when I think of one particular relationship, I think of the gaslighting.
Yo, I don't.
I didn't know if it. There was certain relationships. I did certain relationships where I didn't know even of the term or what it was then.
I still don't know what that shit means.
When you have hindsight and insight
Yeah.
based on what happened, you're like, oh shit, like that's like a form of that's either a form or just straight direct.
It's like manipulation, basically.
It's like emotional blackmailing or emotional manipulation.
Because I'm an old man, and this gaslighting term is like, I don't know what y'all talking about. I figured it out a little bit. Like my girlfriend said, I don't gaslight me sometimes, and I'm like, I'm not, because I don't know what you're talking about. But I got you.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact meaning, like verbatim from the dictionary, but it's like gaslighting is a form of like denying someone's reality or the way they're feeling or processing something.
Sure.
And just like denying it and making it seem like the person is deluded in the way they're feeling or in the way they're processing how they're reaction to a certain situation in the relationship. And it's to say that it can be traumatizing is an understatement.
I can't imagine, man.
But it makes you just question yourself. It can make you question your self-worth, your self-esteem, your value as a person,
Yeah, I can see that. So like, there's actually psychologists use that term. I thought some dude in the street made that up because it sound like some term that come from a rap album. You know what
I know. It's a term that came. I can't remember I wish I knew. Like I've read it before, but I just can't describe where the term exactly is from. It's from some kind of movie or a play from either like the 50s or the 60s, where the man would make his wife or girlfriend doubt her reality by for an example, maybe like put like if she has like if there's a light on on in the room, and then he might like turn it off, and she might think like, oh, it wasn't that on before or something like that, like no, and then he might be like, no, you're just imagining it.
That's
something like
terrible.
something like that. But like
that's a good example.
if it's like something like either a big conversation
I get you.
or it's ongoing,
I get you.
That could fuck you up that could fuck you up psychologically.
That makes sense. This definition I got here, it was on NBC News, but it says, what does gaslighting mean? What does it mean to gaslight someone? Psychologists use the term gaslighting to refer to a specific type of manipulation where the manipulator is trying to get someone else or a group of people to question their own reality, memory, or perceptions. That's fucked up. That sounds like some like dictator shit, like some tyrant type of move, man.
Yeah.
So how do you recognize that they're doing that to you?
Well, I know of one particular treatment from my past who I'm thankful that I'm not with her anymore, where I know it happened, and it actually feeds into an incident in 2019 when I experienced an ego death. But on the outside, the way it was portrayed, it was classified as a severe manic episode.
So ego death and manic episode. Like, give me details. What does that mean?
Let's my disclaimer. Let me put a disclaimer out right now. I'm not saying that ego death and a manic episode are the same thing. I'm not saying that, but this happened 3.5 years ago, and I'm speaking about this carefully because I want to speak the story as truthful and as authentic as possible.
Okay.
So the week of in 2019, the week of August 28th, that was a pretty turbulent week for me. I was dating a woman who happened to have just so happened to have the birthday before my father's. My father's a Pisces, and she was a Pisces. That kind of has some relevance for later on.
Okay.
There was a situation. I was dating her, and there's a situation on a Tuesday. I believe the dates are fairly important as well. It was August 27th, 2019. I was calling her, and she wasn't answering. And yeah, I definitely cared about this woman at the time. I was faithful and everything, and she wasn't answering. So long story short, I decided to. I told my job I gotta leave because I thought it was an issue because also it's important to know that this woman she wasn't born as a paraplegic, but she went through a certain accident.
Okay.
Accident where she went through a car window and it almost killed her.
Wow.
I think she might even have been pronounced dead at one point but I didn't know her when this happened. But
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why I left the job is, like I said, she wasn't answering. I thought there was something going on. I go to her place, and so long story short, she was breaking up with me. Right.
So she was ignoring you as part of the breakup?
That was part of it. Yeah, she was breaking up with me, but this is why I have to speak very not just honest, but I need my words to be very clear about how I speak about this because it's speaking about gaslighting that I didn't realize at that time, but later on through hindsight and insight that I didn't have at the time, but later on I realized I was like, wait a minute. The reason why she wasn't saying certain things about how when I was speaking up about how I felt about our personal matters, but at the time she was she was pretty much putting everything on me and everything that I was talking about that I had a concern about. She either wasn't taking accountability for or just was acting as though what I was saying was completely irrelevant, and it just left me.
That's an empty and frustrating feeling.
It left me utterly confused, to say the least. And I'll admit, it also left me crushed at the time because even though I knew I could at the time, even though I knew I could do better, I did have feelings for her.
Sure.
At the time. So she broke up with me. That was Tuesday the 27th. Then the next day was the 28th, and I could admit that at that time I was smoking a lot more. 420. I was also indulging.
It's 420. This is August, bro.
Yeah, I know. I was indulged, but I was the main type of THC that I was using was the vape. Not around that time, and she was using it too. Right. She smoked more than I did.
Okay.
That's a key note right there. I was vaping. I was even vaping. I'll admit it. Fuck it. I was even vaping on the job. All right.
No, I'm not putting that on there. That part I'll probably delete.
All right. Well, long story short, that Wednesday I started to. It was triggered by it was most likely triggered by that, but also triggered by life events that I started to feel as though I was talking with God. There was a certain point on Wednesday while I was on the job where I felt as though I was having a conversation that I never had. Like
a direct line?
Like a direct line with God, like a personal conversation, just me and him that I never felt before.
Okay.
I felt so enlightened by it that when I was done working, and I felt as though that also that day it was pouring rain.
Okay.
I was doing my route and I was doing an overtime piece, pouring rain, and I felt as though that the rain was, I felt as though the raindrops falling on me was like a way of God communicating with me.
Wow.
And this is real talk. I started writing it in my journal. That's
Wow.
one of the reasons why I even bought that.
Brought the journal.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I
Sure.
brought that with me.
Sure.
So, but anyway, the next day, what happened the next day? Also, what's another thing that's important. Throughout the week, I wasn't getting that much sleep.
Okay.
Throughout that week, I was not getting much consistent, proper sleep.
Right.
That's important. Because even that Thursday, the next Thursday, the night, I was like talking with this girl that I met on a particular site, and we were having like some really real intense phone sex. No, but I'm just mentioning.
No, I'm only laughing because I haven't done that in God no. I don't even know how I would do that now.
Yeah, it was like the whatever. But
yeah.
I didn't get that. I barely got sleep that night either. The Thursday into Friday, I probably slept about like an hour.
That's brutal.
Yeah, an hour, and I went to work. I went to work Friday, and then that Friday, the August 30th, I even went. I remember going into work that day, feeling as though I just wanted to I just felt extremely elated.
Okay.
Remember and just remember what happened Wednesday when I was feeling like I was talking with God. I even went to my mother's house and I said, Mom, listen, for all the times that I doubted God's presence, I don't feel that way anymore at all. I just gave her like a big hug and a kiss.
Interesting.
Yeah, I even did all that.
Yeah.
That Wednesday.
That's interesting.
And the Friday I went to work, I felt as though I wanted to buy half of the office breakfast. And I bought like at least seven or 10 people breakfast that morning.
Damn.
I just didn't care about money. I just
money bags over
yeah.
there.
I just felt like in a very giving mood.
Sure.
So as we go on, I'm doing my route, and I started feeling the way I was thinking was in a way I had never started thinking before.
Okay.
Now that from the hindsight of it, long story short, I was to the outside world, I was hallucinating, because when I started to think to myself, listen, the way I'm thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to the end of the day.
Right.
And I had this recorder on me. Okay. I just put the recorder on and started talking my truth.
That's all right. So when you had the recorder, were you doing that to document what was going on?
Yes.
So you can check later, or was it because you was doing this so future people can learn the wisdom that you wanted to drop at that time?
That too.
Interesting.
Both, because I felt as though I legit really felt like I might not live past this day.
So this is your will and testament, essentially.
Basically, that's the way I was thinking.
Right.
That's the way I was thinking. So
wow. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And this is my truth. Everyone has their own personal story and stuff. And so I was recording, and there was a part. The way it started, I remember saying something like, "Okay, killer, be killed."
Mm.
And the reason why I said that at the time is because the year prior, I was dealing with certain thoughts where the dark thoughts I was starting to have dark thoughts that I was willing to act on, and I was planning on doing something very, very devious.
Something on the newsworthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's scary.
Yeah, in 28, the year prior.
Right.
And
so this is the prior. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep the timeline straight. Mm-hmm. So these thoughts that you were saying you wanted to potentially act on, this was a year before this
incident,
this recording incident.
Yes.
Okay.
This is 2019.
Gotcha.
I remember in 2018, and another thing, I distinctly remember being on a particular medication at that time that I felt as though was that was, what's the word, making those thoughts stronger.
Okay, yeah.
And to be honest, it was Wellbutrin. I was on Wellbutrin at the time.
Wellbutrin sounds. I'm sorry if anybody is a sponsor of Wellbutrin. Not over here. That shit don't sound good.
I was thinking extremely violent thoughts.
Wow.
Extremely violent thoughts.
And Wellbutrin is to do what again? That's to anxiety.
It actually, that medicine increased my
my
anxiety. It did bring back my sexual functioning, but at the same time, it increased my anxiety and had the potential of having me be very easily agitated at times.
It says it's it's a antidepressant.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to be
Say that again.
let you in the
'Cause
audience be
that
mindful.
noise is going to be on everything. Say that again.
That's why
all
I
right.
wanted you guys to be mindful of how the difference of classes of antidepressants.
Yeah. Okay.
Because even the one that I'm on now at a very low dose, and I have no shame for the fact that like even as a black man that I'm taking the low dose of this antidepressant, because I actually did my own personal research when I knew I was like, you know what, I have a problem with depression, and maybe something will really help. But
I applaud you for that type of self-awareness.
yeah, when you a person, man or woman, if it gets to that point, you need to have a conversation in the mirror, just yourself. It doesn't matter what higher power, whether it's God or Allah, whatever like that. Just have an honest conversation in the mirror with yourself.
That's
know?
absolutely.
And that will bring your self-awareness. That will bring the answers, and be real with yourself. If you know.
Can't help yourself if you bullshitting.
Exactly.
You know so all right. So you was having the bad thoughts, and then this day is happening. You're documenting the day. You got a direct line to God. You're DMing each other. So what's happening next?
Yeah.
FaceTiming each other.
So that later on that Friday, one thing I started to do, I felt as though I started to feel as though I had to purge out all that negative, any kind of negative sins that I felt as though I committed in life.
Right.
I really felt as though with me saying kill or be killed, that this was like my do or die moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's real, bro.
Yeah. It wasn't I didn't bring it onto I didn't purposely
of course
bring it onto myself. But
sure.
for the fact that I was thinking like that, I was like, okay, I don't know. There's a possibility I might not make it to live to the end of the day.
Wow.
I legit thought that.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize fully. My bad.
It's okay.
I didn't realize fully what the situation was, but I was experiencing an ego death, and an ego death experience is when, first and foremost, for me, I was thinking I was thinking I was the embodiment of Jesus Christ. That's one thing. That's one of the reasons why I felt as though I was just so free about just giving and buying things.
Yeah, you was giving like, geez, I get it.
You get it.
So your direct line was essentially talking to your father.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, but it started to go beyond that. When it goes even beyond that, of thinking that you're like the son of God.
Yeah.
When I say beyond that, you start thinking like I was thinking not just on a biblical way, because when I say biblical, it's like this. In the town that I work in, there's a street called Jerusalem Avenue.
Wild, yeah.
And on the route that I was on, the number route is 28.
Okay.
I was born in 1982.
So reverse.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
Okay.
Half of that route 28 has half of Jerusalem, and get this, the route that I had prior for that, for 3.5 years, that has the other half of Jerusalem.
Okay.
So the route number was 33. I was thinking in my head, and which is true, that's the age that Jesus sacrificed his life.
Yeah.
28, you turn it backwards, 82.
Okay.
That's how I was thinking, like.
Yo, so so I almost said crazy. That's the wrong
No,
word. But
yeah.
in the terms, I don't mean like crazy, like whatever.
Hey.
That's such a higher level of thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's like the end of a movie. You see almost like the montage of how they're putting the pieces together.
It's like the Truman. It's like I was going through a Truman Show event kind of thing.
That's
what I was going
unbelievable.
I was like seeing in like 5D.
That's wild.
And that's another reason why I would even play some of it if it could be heard. I started saying that I need to go backwards when people arrived at the scene, because it was like 5 o'clock, and at that time I should have been done with the route.
Right.
But it's when they came to the scene, there was more than half of the mail in the truck.
So you wasn't even doing the job.
No, I was tripping out.
Wow.
I was tripping out, and
And it's interesting because this is 100% real to you at this time.
100% real.
Yeah, and so nobody can tell you different.
No, once you're that deep in it, like again, I have some audio of when certain coworkers arrived, and
Yeah, we'll definitely play some of that.
Yeah, the first thing that one guy says is like he's like, hey Wendell, he's like hey Wendell, you good? And the first thing I say is, I'm going backwards, and they're like, what do you mean you're going backwards? And I can't recall what I said after that, but I just but I was already gone.
Yeah.
And it got potentially worse because within like maybe like 10 minutes later, that's when I felt as though I had to take all my clothes off.
Wow.
Every article.
So what was that about?
Shedding. I felt as though in my mind, I was like shedding myself.
Wow, man.
I felt as though that anything on me was like a distraction, and I also ran towards a particular house that just so happened to have one of the people who resides there is one of the, like they believe in like spiritual healing.
So you were kind of drawn to that.
I was drawn to that. Yeah,
butt ass naked. You ran over there.
Yeah. I took my clothes off on the middle of the street and I ran. The person wasn't even home. They weren't even home.
Right.
But I ran towards that house. I guess it was like in my mind, I was thinking it was like a cry for help. And
so I was almost like a lighthouse to you.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And also she's that person that is an Aries like myself, that's also a bit important too, because when you start thinking on an ego death level, you start thinking you're capable of like thinking of on a higher power of like whether it's biblical, numerical, astrological, and then when it gets on a universal level, that's when you start. I was like seeing in a 5D. I was like seeing outside. I remember the whole situation. I know it sounds crazy because.
But you know, it sounds. I don't want to say crazy. It definitely doesn't sound like a normal day.
Of course, yeah.
You know, but the fact that this doesn't seem like a dream because this isn't disjointed. Everything seems to be connected.
Everything. It felt like everything was connected. Shit down
one more time.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be connected, and that's kind of scary, man.
It's so connected that I remember thinking backwards in a way where this is wild.
Yeah.
My first gaming system besides Atari, and I mentioned this for a reason, was Sega Genesis. And I was more of a Sega Genesis person than Super Nintendo.
Me too.
I was like really, and also that also even got me into music because the way the music was on the Genesis, it just sounded really good. And
the Streets of Rage music was fire.
See, there you go. See,
yeah, I get it.
I got it on my Spotify. I be working out. I be working out to video game music.
Oh,
sometimes.
that's interesting.
And movie scores. I'm really into video game music and movie scores. Fuck Hot 97 and Power 105. Sorry.
Are these still around? Whatever. Yeah. No offense if you guys hired me one day and I wasn't a shot. I really don't know.
Yeah, but the reason why I mentioned Genesis is because at one point I was thinking that I was still having a conversation with a higher power, and I felt as though God was like telling. I felt like Genesis, like the book of Genesis.
Yeah,
and I felt as though like God was like telling me this is why. I had a voice in my head saying this is why I wanted you to be so inclined with Sega Genesis to tell the story of what you're going through.
Dog, you need to write a book about this.
I know.
This is fascinating.
I know, because that's why.
Yeah.
It took me years to listen to the whole thing because I did some embarrassing things that day. There was a point where I was masturbating, but it wasn't. I remember it wasn't. You'll hear it on if you listen to the recording thing. It wasn't even to the point where I could actually get myself to ejaculate or come. I just felt as though I had to like purge out whatever like quote unquote sins.
I don't know if I'm gonna put that part of the audio on.
It is what it is. Like
right.
it's just listen, I'm not.
I just want to say this because you're my boy, so there's a difference. This is why I don't necessarily love cops or dislike cops. You got some shitty ones, you got some great ones. But that's the guy that got to come to you or whoever doing shit like that and assuage the situation. That's tough to do. I was going to say that's hard to do, but I don't want to use that word. That's tough. That's tough to do, man. So salute to the police or whoever, the EMS,
EMS, yeah.
who come. I doubt the fire department will come for that, but they,
It was the EMS.
that would be crazy if they
I don't
came.
think did the police come. I think one police, but also the EMS came. They they put a blanket over me because I was constantly just wanted to be naked. I didn't want any clothes on me.
Were you combative against them? Do you remember?
Not there, not on the scene.
Okay.
But they, according to the notes on the for the itinerary, when I got to the hospital, away from everyone else, they were saying there were points where I was combative.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's
and they had to like inject me with something to knock me out.
Yeah, they knocked you out. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So, damn, bro. First of all, that's a fascinating story. Just from a story, not even what you, in terms of you like being in the street and doing whatever you're doing, the stream of consciousness that you had to connect all of those things. Who's to say you was wrong, bro? I'm not even trying to fuck around. Like,
yeah, I mean, and I listen.
That's too. That works out too well.
It's crazy. As much as I still work for the same. I don't walk that. I don't walk that route anymore.
Okay.
And
I was curious about that.
I left that route by choice. Even when I came back to the,
Sure.
I was in the hospital. They put me in the hospital. I was there for 12 days. That's another reason why I feel as though I'm so confident about telling this stories, because I was born on the 21st of March. I'm an Aries, and 21 back was 12. I just feels like it took me some time to recollect on this, but I feel as though I'm like meant to really tell this story, whether it's like writing a book about it, or maybe it could be a movie, because I legit went through that whole Truman Show type of ordeal.
Yeah.
And
that's
remember
incredible, man.
And whatever I didn't remember, I have it on that recorder
Yeah, we're gonna break some of that down. I'm not gonna play the whole thing because you have about an hour and change on it, right? But we'll definitely what I think I'll do is we'll get through this episode, and then I'll have that as like a bonus at the end so people can listen to it, so we don't interrupt this, because your story is pretty. It's powerful, man. Like this is a lot, bro.
I know it's a lot. And
when I gotta ask a question. Don't get mad at me for this. When you went back to the depot that you were working at,
the what?
The depot, the office.
Yeah.
Like the coworkers that watched you. When you went back to work that first day, did you extend your hand and shake anybody's hand? And what? and if you did, like, was it fist bumps only? Like, how did that work, yo?
Yeah, probably people just wanted to do fist bumps. I remember coming back the first day. It was like a month. It was, even though I was in the hospital for 12 days, I didn't like. As soon as I came out, I didn't go back to work. I was still out of work for like a month and change.
Okay.
And I had to use all my annual and sick time too.
PTO.
Yeah. So I was out for a month and a half. I returned back to work like sometime like mid to late October, and I had I had a significant amount of weight gain on me because of it's mostly for the Depakote and this freak. They had me on an antipsychotic, which I was on for 6 months, which I couldn't stand. It's called Abilify.
Oh, I've seen that commercial too.
Yeah, I understand why they had me on it, because what I did was considered, like a psychotic episode. I get it. But I hated that medicine because it just made me feel like slow and like a zombie.
That shit is whack, man.
Yeah, and I fought.
And you were in a mental facility at this point, or were you?
No, this is
general hospital.
It was they put me into NUMC.
I don't know what that means.
NUMC is a mental hospital in
Nassau University Medical Center.
Thank you.
Oh, is that what it means?
Yes, that's Nassau University Medical Center. Yes.
I'm an MC, yo. You see that?
Yep, NUMC.
Damn, son.
Yeah. So I remember being on like the one of the close to the top floor, and when it was a town over from the town where it happened in Levittown. So I was able to
the Red Line town.
Yeah, even while I was in there, I was able to just like see like the Levittown water tower, and just wanted to be back at work. And
wow, man, that's I worked in a psych hospital for 5 years, mostly with kids, and you can adjust the mic if it's not comfortable.
No, I just want to make sure that everything's good, clear. Yeah,
it's straight. I worked 5 years at a psych hospital, and not to sound cold, I feel like I've told you this before, but I'm going there for work. Okay. The people that are there, while I make connections with them, when I leave, that's no longer there for me. Mm-hmm. But the more I got to meet, especially my kids, the kids that I was working with, but even some of the adults that were lucid enough to have conversations with, when I hear the stories that they have, it's like, yo, this is a real person. You know, like I I had to learn to not define this person by whatever they were in there for.
Yeah.
You know, and psychology in general, like I got a psych degree, we talked about it. Did I study? No. But I don't know shit. But I know I got a fucking debt, but that's all I know for that.
Yeah.
But either way, like, you know, I saw firsthand how people deal with different traumas from life, different chemical things going on. Yeah, that's the people in the hallway. Bronx, New York people. So you gave me a more real personal, because the people I worked with did communicate with me and they did talk with me, but I actually know you. You know, I remember going to clubs with you, man.
Yeah.
I remember
Sullivan's.
I remember Sullivan's. That was the name of it?
Sullivan. Remember?
No, I was drunk, bro. I just went there. I don't know. I remember being in the. Was it you? Was it? Oh, we're gonna bring this.
Yeah, we could go in. I know.
This has nothing to do with the mental health stuff. But was it you or was it Tim? When we was in the car, I was in the front seat with a certain young lady,
Okay.
and there was a certain young lady in the back seat, and I went home with both of them.
Okay.
Was that you driving or was that Tim?
I think it might.
I think that was you. I feel like you said, "Oh God," I feel like that was
probably
you.
did know it me.
And I dropped the ball. Nothing happened that night.
Knowing me, I probably did.
Nothing happened that night, yo. Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting because, like I said, I know you personally. You are always a little eclectic, to say the least.
Yeah.
So
Eclectic. I can't even say the word properly. Enigmatic. I like to.
Yeah.
I'm like
there
I
was
like to be
something
an enigmatic.
different about you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
and I embrace that. I embrace that difference.
If I'm not mistaken, you had robes.
Yes,
right?
I had robes. There was one time where I was walking
Yeah.
through the hallway with a Chinese sword. For
Yeah,
for what reason?
Yeah.
Who knows? Just for no reason. Just
And you know what also made me think at the time that, you know, perhaps you were on some type of medication or something, was the way you used to react to getting high. I've never seen nobody. So for me, I'm like, you know, there's something a little. I've never seen nobody get that high. This is a big black motherfucker. We watching The Ring. And start, I still got that video.
Oh
by the
yeah,
way.
that movie scared the shit out of me.
Grown man,
The Japanese version.
Yeah. With the phone rings, grown man had you on a night vision joint. Grown man crying every time the phone ring, bro. And I'm like, this ain't no regular high, bro. This dude's on something else, man. Like, and this is you was on your full workout shit, so the guns was out, bro.
Yeah.
Like on the floor, bro, laying down like this, looking at me, yo. Look at me in the camera. I gotta find that, yo. If I can find that, I'm putting that in the video,
Please,
bro.
I want to see it. I
Bro.
want to see it.
Big, yo, I was like, so to me, I saw like a little bit of the clues. I saw some of the again, I don't have any background at the time in anything in medical other than my mom, but I'm not, you know, I'm not dumb, I'm not dense. So I saw something was a little bit different, but nah, he was my guy, man, and you know, rocking you, smashing the beast, like, you know, all of these.
Yeah.
You did. I thought you were gonna deny that.
Wait. No, I didn't fully. We were about to, and it did. I can't. Yeah.
I didn't fully. What does that mean? You put like half of the tip in? Well, the fact that you got that, she was a nice girl though.
She was.
a
But
nice
what the
girl.
fuck was I doing with her?
I mean, you had a couple that was. And actually,
No.
you had
That was the
pretty-
main one. That was.
You had some pretty attractive girls though. Yeah, well, I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
just to leave it at that,
Yeah.
Yeah. She
My,
was hot.
my
She was
favorite
hot,
one
bro.
was the one on the first. I always wanted the Egyptian one. You know, the Egyptian. So her name starts with an S. First floor.
No, I don't remember. Oh, second floor.
No, she was on the first floor.
No, because that was D's room. Oh, she might have been. D's roommate was A.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
She was on point.
That was my biggest.
Because that
crush.
was the friend with my campus wife.
Yeah, her roommate was
I remember who our roommate. Oh, Dance Machine. I used to call it Dance Machine.
I did hook up with your can I what kind of
Nah, 'cause I don't know if they want that history.
Is
But
it okay?
You could tell me.
the one
I'll blank it out.
those room at the end. Oh yes, not
Yeah, no, not.
no, the other one. What's her,
Oh God, yo.
what's her background?
I know she was like Indian or something. Like
Yeah.
that, right? I remember because I'll blank all these names out, but it was like, did you and Wendell mess around? Or what were you guys doing? And she was like, no team. What was her name, yo? Yo, you beat?
Huh?
You beat?
Yeah.
Without a condom? And see, I knew to ask you, you nasty motherfuckers, man. She was cute. I don't remember too much about her.
She has some. It took some little bit of work, but yeah.
So you went from a little bit of work to smashing raw.
Yes.
I don't get the psychology of people, man. As whorish as I was, like 4% was without a condom. Jeez. A exactly was the one I was scared of. AIDS was the shit I was scared of.
No. I'm thank God I'm clean, and
I mean,
I've done
college,
some naughty shit.
There's a lot of people that took a bullet in college, and there's a lot of people that went unscathed. Like I said, in college for me, I wasn't that bad. I hope this audio sounds good because I'm hearing a lot of like tinny shit in my.
I hope so too.
But either way, I'll be pointing it out because you killed this right here. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna end this here.
You sure? Because
do you have more? We're on an hour 18, and I'm good. Like I just want to make sure you're comfortable. Anything you want to leave? Actually, I did want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Would you or have you dated a woman with the same condition? Or a condition, a mental condition, period.
I believe I can't pinpoint it, but I believe so. I
that you have dated.
I wouldn't say necessarily bipolar. I wouldn't say that, but from now that I have like just insight, not just insight and foresight, but also just knowledge on a sociological level, psychological level.
Yeah.
I believe that I truly have dated women who might have traits of possible BPD, borderline personality disorder.
I dated one of those.
NPD. And this is one particular one who sometimes I even considered that I wanted to be like a quote unquote soulmate vibe because I was dating her. Where the intimacy was amazing. However, our community. We had faults with our communication. Sometimes it was with me. Other times it might have been with her with the proper reciprocation.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a woman who I never did cheat on, and I felt as though even when we were not being intimate, and when I had thoughts of it, I was like, nah, I would even entertain that. So I said I think we should go our separate ways because at that time I was dealing with cognitive depression and. At that time, that kind of depression affects your memory.
Okay.
It affects how you process information.
Right.
And with that being said, there was several times, and keep in mind, I wasn't medicated properly at that time. I wasn't taking any kind of antidepressant, and I could admit I was trying different out of the market things.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, and
like shit from the gas station. Like essentially.
Yeah, this is one thing I tried called Phenibut.
Okay.
It's not even like a pharmaceutical medicine. It's a type of nootropic. I was trying different things around the time when I was dating this woman, and it did unfortunately affect our communication towards each other.
Right.
And when I was realizing that I was dealing with a type of depression that was actually affecting my cognition and affecting my listening skills, I understood that the woman was feeling frustrated, with that.
Did she know? Was this a woman that knew what you were diagnosed with?
Yeah, she knew. And she knew, and then I was the one that broke it off over a phone conversation, saying I think it might be best if we go our separate ways. I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy about it because
I can see it in your face here.
Yeah, because she's if they're we all go through like things in life where we think like of that person being a quote unquote one. I kind of think of her as that person, but at the same time, now that I'm good up here mentally and emotionally, and I have a lot of insight into where I can actually help other people, and I want to help other people respectfully.
Right. And who better to do it because you definitely have the charisma, you have the knowledge and the will to want to help people, which is why I wanted to do this again because I think you get you can get somebody to listen to this, or maybe I can get somebody to listen to this. It's like, yeah, I didn't know how to express that, or wow, I'm feeling this too, or something like that, which is the point of a lot of these things. And I thank you for that, because that's tough. Because like I said, I dealt with a girl that had borderline personality disorder. Mm-hmm. She told me from the first date, because I don't know. I guess I'm just a little just aware of certain things. Like we met, we hit it off like right away.
Cool.
But I noticed like in my head, I'm like within an hour of talking, like something's a little different here. So I asked her. And
How'd you ask her?
I don't remember. I'm about to say I don't remember because I didn't say, hey, so what mental problems do you have? Like it wasn't nothing like that, but it was very well executed the way I asked the question because I was curious, but I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Okay.
And she said, yeah, I have borderline disorder, that one, BPD.
BDP. Yeah. Sometimes if
you
you
said BDP, not Boogie Down Productions, borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
And then there were times where I would see, for the most part, she was even, but there were times where I saw like, oh shit, this is real. This is real. And even to this day, like she doesn't even talk to me like randomly. She just doesn't talk to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is, but I saw how that was. And then again, me working where I worked at for that year and change, for those 5 years, excuse me. I told the story before. There was a girl, it was a young lady. I'll speed it up. I was on orientation. I went to an emergency. So go to the emergency, and at this point, everybody has to come and from each unit and try to get this patient to take the medication.
Okay.
So she was in such a state, like her hair was all over the place. She wasn't trying. She was in the, like the seclusion room.
Yeah.
You can't seclude them at the time. I don't think without an order, but whatever. Right. Long story short, as you said a few times this episode. Long story short, she pulls out her tampon and trigger warning. She pulls out a tampon and sucks on it, throws it, and says, "Now come give me the medication." I was like, "Oh shit, this is what I'm working at, right?" Fast forward a couple of weeks, I am 1-to-1 with this lady now. I got floated.
Okay.
I didn't even realize it was her. The medication stabilized her. Her hair was done. We had a full conversation. Bro, this is a girl, if I met her outside, I'd have dropped the ring on her that day.
Shit.
I mean, everything. Beautiful, intelligent, great communications. Gorgeous, bro. Like, really beautiful, but like brown skin. And I remember it took me a while to be like, oh shit, that's the one from 3 weeks ago. So it kind of goes to show you just don't really know. I think it's good to have that communication. And I also think what you do when you say you tell these women that this is what I'm dealing with, I think that's fair. I think that's let the person know what you're getting into, what they're potentially getting into. And I applaud you for that because that can't be easy.
It's not. And I really appreciate you saying that because I've dealt with the reason why I'm taking a deep breath is because it's obviously personal. I dealt with people in my past who, I told them that, and it seemed as though that they're willing to work with me.
Sure.
But when you're dealing with someone who wants to like maybe like throw out the quote unquote word victim at you. That's fucked up.
That's ignorance.
And
that's ignorance to the highest level.
Yes, and so or playing victim when you're actually really not you're dealing with something that's really fucked up. There's certain people who, when they show a blatant lack of empathy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm not speaking on the way where, or I'm speaking on I need you to, like, I'm telling you like my problems. Like, nah, I'm telling you that
I'm opening up.
I'm opening up because I'm willing to find solutions.
Right.
But when they throw like that victim word at you, that's really fucked up. And that's like it's just, and there's certain people who really maybe I don't think act purposely narcissistic. Like there's one thing being knowing that you may have narcissistic traits. There's nothing wrong with having quote unquote some narcissistic traits as long as you're not using it to promote ill will towards yourself or others.
Right.
There's something called like a healthy self-love, and that could portray in my opinion. I'm not saying this is a fact, but in my opinion, I think there is a such thing as, I might be banned by certain people, like quote unquote healthy narcissism.
Okay.
In a healthy form.
Sure.
Just knowing your worth, knowing what you, I don't want to say bring to the table. I hate that fucking term.
I mean, that's been weaponized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause that's what I'm saying. You gotta really know, not just know your worth, but know yourself.
Sure. Sure. And that's I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here.
Sure.
So people that throw the victim thing out there, right? I'm sure. Yeah, I got to watch how I say this.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm sure. Well, yeah, I'll say I'm sure. I'm sure there is a percentage of people who will use that to their advantage to get out of certain things and play the victim role.
Exactly.
Which at that time, so like I'm trying to put myself in the position of somebody that's dating somebody or has a family member that has a certain diagnosis. I'm sure because you're not dumb, you know, so sometimes, I fucked up, but let me use this thing to get out of this one.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there are people that play victim, and I'm sure that can be extremely frustrating to the person on the other side of that. So I'm trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, but to say you're playing victim is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up.
That's tough. It's a tough position to be in, man.
There's certain people who have like, this is kind of like a side note, but it's kind of a sidebar that goes into it. From my experience, there's certain people who just kind of have like a sense of maybe entitlement. Now, there's different types of entitlement. There's false entitlement, and there's also a sense of entitlement that has earned. Like earned entitlement is different from false entitlement.
Right. I'm dope at what I do. I'm good at this.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm good at this. Like, I've earned it. I put my work in.
Really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. If you put your work in, whether it's like school or a passion or something like that, then speak your truth about it. It is what it is. Like for me, I personally put my work in to have my mental and emotional stability, not just in check, but like in a way where I could like check myself and I don't want to say check other people. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But
enlighten them.
Respectfully enlighten, or if need be, call a person out on some BS.
Right, you're educating.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think that first of all, that requires you to have a certain level of accountability for yourself.
Exactly.
And humility.
Exactly. First, you got to have integrity for yourself, accountability for yourself, and humility for yourself before you could exactly. And like when you're dealing with other people who don't want to have that within themselves or don't want to reflect. It's like, and like I'm not going to front. Even as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about a certain particular person, but it's just it breaks my heart a bit. It does, and that's why. So it comes from a real place.
No, I can tell, and I really, really appreciate you coming on tonight. Coming on my immaturity.
Pause.
My immaturity is it's out of control.
Well, we grown.
Yeah, I mean, some people said that men that play the pause game are gay. I'm not gay. It's just fun. I enjoy it, and I'm not homophobic either. It's just a fun game.
We grew up on some camp.
Grew up on that, bro.
Said, we love it.
You can't change 35 years of how I've been because you now you feel offended by it. So
exactly. I
don't mean to offend anybody, but anybody that is not part of that community that gets offended and calls me a certain name, fuck off. That I hope offend you. Mr. Blackman, I'm so grateful you came on here. I'm only going to cut this short because we're on an hour and a half, and I don't want to make this like a Joe Rogan. I'm not actually Flo Rogan, but we'll have you back. And
I would love to be back. I'd love to.
100%, man. I think you did some great work. I want people, if you want to reach out to Mr. Blackman, you can reach out to me. I don't know if you want people to have direct access to you, if your Instagram, anything like that.
Sure, why not?
So I'll put that in the description. I'll tag you and listen. There's nothing wrong, man, but getting some help and realizing something might be a little bit off. That's the best word I can think of because I'm tired.
And may I just say one more thing to close out?
Absolutely, go for it, man.
The reason why we're in 2023 now.
Yeah.
And my manic episode / ego death happened in 2019. But the reason why I think it's so important that I mention my conversation that I had with myself in the year 2020.
Sure.
Hindsight, keyword hindsight is 2020. Is because that's
this
the year.
Guy's like a number, man.
No. When you that's what I'm saying. When you go through something like an ego death and you actually remember it, that's why I think the way I do.
I'm just saying how you're putting things together. Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, I process. I realize how I process certain things on like.
You'd be a dope MC.
Hey, you don't even know. I'm about to.
Said you don't even know. I don't know.
Del face DiCaprio, baby. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I was saying, like, the reason why I mentioned 2020 is because I had a conversation with myself 6 months after. This is 6 months after I was out of the hospital, and mind you, I was back at work.
Yeah.
They had me on the Abilify, which was an antipsychotic, but I was still feeling sluggish at work.
Yeah,
I was feeling sluggish in the relationship that I was trying to work with at that time, and we even went separate ways on a respectful level because it wasn't working out.
Sure.
And I take most of the fault for that. Abilify had me just like.
It warped you.
It warped me. So so I had the conversation where I was like, listen, had it with myself first. I'm like, listen, you have me. I'm on this antipsychotic, and I'm still dealing with like the quote unquote depression.
Right.
I had to. This was a point. This was a point when I had to advocate for myself, because the particular psychiatrist I was seeing at that time was adamant about keeping me on the Abilify. I'm like, no.
Because she didn't want to do her work, or he didn't
Yeah,
wanna
and
do
I was
her
like,
work.
no. That's why I started. I was
that's
like,
whack.
that's why I started looking up something on my own. I looked up. I found Lexapro.
Yeah.
It's an antidepressant. I was like, you know what? I want to try that. This lady was like, no. I don't think it's a good idea, because that'll probably make you quote unquote manic. Because like their fear was to not have another a repeat.
Well, yeah, that's understandable.
And that's understandable.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. But I was like, listen, I don't feel comfortable taking this medicine that you guys want me to come back for once a month to inject me with. That's one thing I didn't feel comfortable with.
Yeah, that sucks.
So after 3 months, I was like, yeah, nah, like I'll try the pill. But even that, I was like, nah, I'm not feeling this medication.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like it's making me feel slow in my relationship
Yeah.
and work. I was like, so I had to like advocate for myself to the point where I was like, you know what? If you're not gonna prescribe me this, I don't want to see you anymore, because I'm telling you how I'm feeling at work and with my relationship and everything. I'm feeling slow and everything.
Right.
And I want to try antidepressant. So I was like, you know what? I can't see you anymore. I told him I'm not taking this medication anymore. I would like an antidepressant. And that was when I advocated for myself. I started taking a low dose, and I did it. I was able to get off of the route that I had the episode on. I got on another route for 2 years, did it really well while I was on that medication.
Yeah.
And I was, yeah.
And you figured it. I mean,
I figured it out. I feel as though I figured it out myself.
there's so many examples of people who have advocated for themselves and went against what the doctor suggested and are better off.
Exactly.
I can tell you that working inside, I got the inside scoop on that.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so I hold myself respectfully at a high standard for that.
that's what you call it, earned
Entitlements. Boom. Bars.
I had to make sure I had the correct thing right there. Brother Blackman, thank you so much, man. We really appreciated you, and
Appreciate it, man.
we'll definitely have you back. I'm gonna give you the full chair. I cut it off the last time, but
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you.
Yo, thank you for tuning in. I hope if we did have any technical difficulties, this was the first video episode. This is the first time I've had to use it like this, and as I'm looking at the video, I'm noticing I'm looking hunched over. It's Mike is.
I might be a little bit too. Gotta practice having a straight back.
We learned. That was crazy. But we learned, and I want to thank everybody that has tuned in and everybody that will tune in, and I hope this gives somebody an opportunity to speak out. I also noticed that I forgot to put this key light on, so the lighting is not going to be as fantastic as it should have been.
Yeah.
But
Damn.
we learned in here. Great episode, and thank you, Senor.
Thanks,
Mr. Blackman. One
Much
more
love,
time,
man.
you get the
Appreciate you, brother.
get them
Appreciate you,
both.
man.
Peace out. My name is Iron, aka what was it? Scarlet Bro Handsome. Let's go.
Dante Blackman.
Peace.